Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. Hope you are great. Came across this video where some white co-workers are talking to black people, telling them how are they surviving and how are things with them, like that they are traumatized over what is going on by this administration and all that. Right? I want you to know that thing that is traumatizing you has always been black people's experience, daily experience. That is one of the reasons why when we tell you that you can walk in black shoes, not even for a second, because you will not withstand what they have been through. What you are experiencing is actually their normal experience. You all remember that after the election, this man became the president, and white women were like, why is it that black people are not like talking about how hard life is and the rest of it? It has always been black people's experience. Yeah, it has always been their experience. And they keep asking, how are black people surviving? They have always been surviving. The reality is that these people do not understand how bad they mess themselves up too. Because, after the election, they were all happy and all that, thinking it's going to start with black people because true, black people they've always been at the receiving end of everything that happens, whether it is their mistake or any other person's mistake. But this particular one also started whooping their own butts. Let's get into this video.
Yeah, and I am not surprised. I think this directly speaks to the massive disconnect from humanity that comes along with being a white-bodied individual. And like I was talking about in the video, I think, it's very telling when white people are like, why isn't anybody doing anything? And all the communities outside of whiteness are like, what the fuck do you mean? Why aren't you doing anything as a white person? And then the response is, I don't know what to do. There's nothing I can do. We are not, as a white collective, built for this shit. We as a collective do not have the survival skills, the community, the regulation skills, the mental health, the conflict resolution skill. We don't have any of that. And so this is what, again, pushes us further back into our own individualism. And the thing, I talked about this at a different platform yesterday, but our individualism not only will kill us, but it is, in fact, killing everyone else right now because our collective individualism has pushed us into complacency. And the wild thing is, I know that response that you gave is not only the truth, but white people would hear that and take offense to it, right? And then simultaneously want to say, hey, I got a fucking blue bracelet, or I'm safe. But then the response is, oh, nobody cares, nobody likes me, why would you say that? Like, we're just in a constant state of panic and meltdown. And I think, for allies, accomplices, again, whatever fucking buzzword it is this week, the rubber is meeting the road. And I think so many white people are saying that they gave themselves that label that actually didn't mean shit. Because I can performatively on this app all day say, I stand with the black community. I stand in solidarity with all these other communities. And then when shit gets real hard, we're like, oh, let me protect myself first and foremost and still try to pretend like I care for everyone else. It's not how it goes. And our complete lack of humanity and our inability to be empathetic to anybody outside of ourselves and barely towards ourselves at times is so clear. And I know it's clear to every other community outside of whiteness, but I think there's a lot of white people that we're looking at each other like, what the fuck? I thought you cared. Oh, I thought you cared. I thought you cared. I don't know what to do. What are we going to do? And white supremacy is coming crashing down. And the outcomes of that is violence towards everyone else that doesn't look like me. While at the same time, that individualism that most white people choose is collectively suffocating everybody.
White people need to learn how to challenge authority instead of challenging minorities. Okay? Now wait, listen. white people have this innate need every time there's a black person, Latino person, Arab person, person of color who says something that they either disagree with or feel like they disagree with or feel like they are the anomaly outside of that group of things that the person of color is talking about. They're just like, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, or what about this, or what about me, or how about this? But I'm just like, y'all have all this energy towards a minority who says something that you don't like, but when it comes to an authority figure that you don't like and they say something wrong, well, it's just like, oh, it's fine, or oh, they didn't mean it, or oh, I'm sure they were saying something else, or oh, just ignore that altogether, or oh, I have no power to change that, or oh, I don't know. It's just like, what do you, it's just like all these, y'all get every excuse in the book for an authority figure. But when it comes to a minority, you're listen, don't take this wrong, but like this is why the word Karen came to be. It was birthed out of white people, white women specifically, feeling like they need to exert their authority over people of color. And that's what it is. It's like, I feel like white people, they have, and I heard this from White Woman Whisperer, she was talking about how white people have authority, like they always feel like they're the father to the father or an authority figure to the authority figure, and they feel like inherently in their hearts that they are an authority figure to people of color. And so they feel like they have this divine right to correct people of color whenever they feel like a person of color is wrong or needs correcting. But they feel like because there's always this hierarchy in life, that whenever someone that they deem as above them, their parents or their grandparents or the police or the government or God, that is telling them to do something that they don't believe in, or that they do something that they think is wrong, they still have to do it because they cannot challenge authority. And that's why they also get so upset when people of color push back on them, because inside of them they see that as someone who is in a position of less authority pushing back on them, the authority. Are y'all listening? White people, y'all don't know it, but you have this inherent feeling inside of you that you are a authority figure to people of color. Like, that has been ingrained in you all since the reception of the United States of America, is that white people are the authority over people of color. Like, that y'all have always been placed on top, and from a political, financial, economic, like social standpoint, you all have always been placed literally legally given the authority over people of color. And that culture has never went away. It has went away on paper, mostly, kinda, but in practice and in reality, it never went away. And so a lot of you have in your minds, even though you don't know you have it in your minds, but you have it in your minds that what you think and what you feel and what you have to say is more important or more authoritative than the person of color who is speaking, because you are. Because you do, because it is. Like, whatever you have to say, you just genuinely with all your heart feel like it is more important or more legitimate than a person of color. And that, I'm not gonna lie, pisses me off. It pisses me off because, like, I talk about racism a lot on this page, and so the amount of white people who come into my page, especially this, I'm never gonna forget this post I made about blonde hair being racist, and every single white woman in all of America came into my page to tell me I'm wrong. And I'm just like, how can you as a white person tell me as a black person who has studied history, studied racism, studied socialism, studied public health, studied population, studied all these things through the lens of racism? How are you gonna come and tell me that I am wrong about racism? Someone who has experienced racism, a black woman who has experienced racism on many occasions in her life, overtly, covertly, and any other kind of way, you're gonna tell me you know more about racism than me. And so, and the excuse is that they feel like I don't know about what they like. Like, you're just like, oh, I like blonde hair because blonde hair is, I just prefer that. I just prefer my hair lighter. And it's just like, but when I ask them, why do you prefer that? Where did that belief that blonde hair is more pretty or more beautiful, where did that belief come from? They're just like, it just is. You don't question your thoughts. You don't question your beliefs. Don't question where a preference came from. You're thinking too deep. Now you're too woke. Now you're too woke. Now I'm the woke friend. It's fine. It's fine. I'm going to just leave that there. I'm a little traumatized from that post, not going to lie. But that is what it is white people love challenging minorities, but they cannot for the life of them challenge authority. Think about it.
Racism in this country ain't just ignorance. It's a business plan. And Trump, he didn't invent it, but he sure as hell ran with it. He took the oldest hustle in America, fear of the other, and turned it into a campaign slogan. Think about it. Every time he called Mexicans rapists, every time he said that black folks lived in hellholes, Every time he pointed a finger at immigrants, he wasn't talking, he was training white America to believe that their problems got a color. That's not politics, that's psychological warfare. See, when you got no answer for healthcare, no plan for jobs, no real way to fix the cost of living, you give people an enemy. You whisper in their ear, it's them. If they weren't here, you'd be fine. And folks who are already got that poison in their heart, he gave them permission to pour it out in the open. Then he went further, cutting diversity programs, banning anti-racism training, telling federal workers that they don't even have to talk about discrimination. That's not neutrality, that's protection. Protecting the system that built this country on inequality and then calling it colorblind. Blind is right. Because you got to close your eyes to see how racism runs through housing, healthcare, education, every corner of this nation. And what's the result? Hate crimes go up, people emboldened, civil rights protections roll back like they're optional. And while we're fighting each other, the people at the top are laughing because divided people don't hold anybody accountable. Here's the truth. Racism ain't just about hate. It's about control. It's about shaping what you believe, who you blame, and how you vote. That's why it works like mind control. But the antidote, knowledge, unity, and refusing to play their game. We don't win by becoming what they fear. We win by refusing to be manipulated, by remembering the Constitution don't belong to them, it belongs to us. And if we don't protect it, they'll rewrite it before our eyes.
If churches were good for the Black community, the U.S. government wouldn't allow us to have it. Okay, now wait. All of my Black Christians, all of my, but the Lord said, but the Bible said, but I love this, I love that. Listen, what are in Black neighborhoods? We're over-policed. We got police officers everywhere. Are those good for us? No. We got the stores that sell drinking. I don't know what TikTok wants me to say, but those drink stores, they're everywhere, every single corner. Are those good for us? We got 7-Elevens every single corner. Are those good for us? Do we have grocery stores with fresh groceries on every single corner? No. Most food deserts are in Black neighborhoods. Do we have good elementary schools, well-funded schools and teachers in our neighborhoods? No. But those aren't our neighborhoods. We get 1 or 2 schools and they usually don't have the materials that they need to help our children. But you know what is on every black neighborhood corner? A church. In the 80s, they dropped those boxes in Black neighborhoods full of that white rock-like substance. They gave us that. Was that good for us? Nope. They used that as a way to have an excuse to arrest Black people left and right. But we have churches. Do they bother churches? No. We as a Black people, right? We have this spiritual energy. We have this magic that is inside of us. We all feel it. We all know it's there. We all know we have some sort of God essence. And they gave us religion. They gave us Christianity so that they could put it in a box and control it and use it however they want to use it. You go to church every single Sunday. And every single Sunday for hours, you pray, you listen, you do all this stuff. But if you use that same exact energy and went every single Sunday to a class, you would have a degree. If you use that same energy to build a business, you would have a business. Use that same energy to write a book, your book will be finished. Use that same energy to build a house, you would have a house. Like, it's just like that time, that energy, that mental, spiritual, financial. If you use the same money that you put in your tithes every Sunday, every month you got to put 10% of your money to your tithes. If you use that same 10% of your paycheck and you put it in a stock account, a high yield savings account, a brokerage account, ETF, poverty gone. You would have no poverty. You would have $100,000 in stocks right now. If for the last 10 years, you put 10% of your paycheck in your stock account, you would have plenty of money, but instead you gave it to the church and you're in the same exact spot you were 10 years ago. All I'm saying is that church, it literally takes your time, your money, and your energy, and it doesn't give you anything. It gives you community, but you would have community if you were investing in yourself and doing the things that God was telling you to do. What is God telling you to do? What do you want to do with your life? What is it that you feel like you're compelled to do? Why aren't you doing that? But you're going to church every Sunday. And if you don't go, you're outcasted. And see, that's the thing with the church. it gives, like, it tells us, homophobia, homosexuality is terrible, or whatever. Transphobia is terrible. Like, it's like it creates division in the Black community. It creates an excuse for us to hate each other. It gives us reasons to have hierarchies. And I'm good if I'm Christian, you're bad if you're not, you're a sinner, this, that, and the third. Like, you could be using that same, like, I got y'all, the last whipping that I ever got was because I wasn't getting ready for church fast enough. That was the last one I ever got. And I remember getting it because it was just like this. I remember thinking in my mind, this is ridiculous. I remember thinking, this is ridiculous. Like, we're going. We're going. I'm getting dressed, Mom. And because I wasn't getting dressed fast enough, I got whipped. That's what church does. It makes it so that people feel so inclined to getting there and to, like, showing up and making your Sunday's best and putting on this show, that if you don't put on this show correctly, you will be punished. That's what it teaches you. Like, that's like, then you go into the church and then there's a hierarchy within the church. If you're a part of the pastor's family, you're good to go. If you're like an usher, you're good to go. But, like, if you're part of that family over there, you're not good to go. If you've been in a Black church, you know what I'm talking about. It's like you pretend like it's like, oh, everyone loves each other, love that sister, love that brother. But, like, even within the church, there's dynamics, hierarchies, oppressive systems. It's just like... And then another thing that it teaches is, turn the other cheek. It teaches that docility. It teaches, love thy neighbor, even if your neighbor is being a piece of crap to you. It teaches forgive. It teaches stay in your marriage no matter what. Even if your spouse is knocking you upside the head. Like, it doesn't teach you good lessons. It teaches you to hate yourself. It teaches you are not good enough. It teaches you you are born into this world of sin, so you're automatically a sinner. And from the moment you take your first breath, you owe somebody something. You're not good enough. And it teaches, like, that it creates the dynamic that if you are praying harder than someone else, or your faith is stronger than someone else, it rewards people who have the most blind faith. If you have the most blind faith, you are at the top of the hierarchy. And if you question, you're wrong. If you think too hard, you're wrong. If you analyze, you're wrong. If you seek knowledge, you're wrong. And so people, it literally rewards stupidity. It rewards stupidity. The stupider and the less you question and the more you just believe it'll work out, the more the church rewards you. Doesn't that feel wrong? Am I the only one who makes that feels wrong? Am I the only person that feels wrong too? That's me? Okay. All right. I'm just saying. And then last thing, I'm wrapping up, I'm gonna land this plane, is that those mentalities of, like, not only just self-hatred, but, like, forgiveness to the people who have done wrong against you. As a Black community, I don't like that mentality, because we are wronged left and right over and over and over again by the U.S. government. Like, the U.S. government is the biggest oppressor of the Black community, and instead of standing up against them in a way that will work, and my personal way is not like, I want us to leave. If you look at my videos, I want us to leave. Black people, we got to pack up our stuff and we got to go, because this is not it. This is never going to be it. They're never going to let us be free. They're always going to make excuses. They're always going to do something in order to keep us. And honestly, the way things are going right now, we already know as soon as they're done with the Latino community, and the immigrants, they're going to do their best to put us back on the fields. Their best. And so I'm just like, that is where we're going. And so it's before it gets there, I'm like, we all need to hit the road. Even before this started happening, I'm like, we need to hit the road, because even when Democratic people are in government, it's just like they don't do anything to help the Black community, left or right, up or down, center. In the United States, the United States government leverages Black energy, Black bodies, Black harm. It don't matter. If we are, as a people, they only use us to extract any value that they can from us, and then leave the rest of us as the rest of whatever is left of us as collateral damage. And that is what they've done since the inception of this country, and that's what they will always do. And thus, we need to go. All of us as a collective, get out of here. But anyways, for those of us who don't want to get out of here, using your energy going to church instead of organizing a way to get the government to stop bothering us. Like, we will never do that, because we are so, God will get them. They won't go to heaven and I will. And while you're sitting here suffering on earth, what Nina Simone say? She said, they tell us our heaven is in the sky while they have their heaven here on earth, or something like that. It was a bad quote, but you know what I mean. They have us suffering here, and they're having us pretend like we're going to heaven later, so that they can enjoy the fruits of our suffering while we suffer now, and then we will get probably nothing later. So that's it, Black people. It's time to wrap it up with this church. It's time to wrap it up. Church and Christianity as a whole, that's it. Bye.
Hi, I'm Kylie, and here are 3 things that don't bother me as a white person. Number 1, when a person of color says they don't trust white people, I absolutely understand the sentiment and am not offended if you don't immediately trust all white people. On account of white people colonizing the world and then setting up a system of slavery and not taking accountability for any of the racism, I think this is a totally valid statement. It doesn't bother me because I don't feel like I contribute to the system in this way.
This is all I got from this video, and actually they are rewriting it, looking for a way to rewrite it. You can see what it's going on when it comes to history and the rest of it. But I love how some people, Black people, are very, very resilient with everything going on, standing tall. The truth is that some of them are traumatized with what is going on now about the country's economy, how hard it's becoming life. And one thing I want you to know is that they are just being traumatized when they haven't really seen the real thing. Now, when Black people talk about their experiences, when they talk about how life has been for them, when they talk about how they've been treated, and they still to this very moment they've been standing tall, and they are still standing tall. See, what you are experiencing today as a white person has always been Black person's day-to-day experience. But no, you all don't want to talk about it because it doesn't fit the narrative or something. But now, experience is sometimes the best teacher, right? It is always the wanting to tell you about racism, or wanting to tell you how you should talk about racism, or wanting to tell you how you are supposed to express yourself about what you are experiencing when you are not the one experiencing it. Seeing is believing, I remember seeing a video of a woman saying, how is it that she was like, why are Black people not complaining about what is going on? What do you want them to say? What do you want them to do? Why is everybody acting like it's all okay? Because it has always been Black people's experience. You guys have never experienced something like this. That was one of the reasons why they still voted for this administration. Why? Because they thought it was never ever going to get to them. Because all their life, they've been living the life that nothing ever gets to them. And that is actually true. Nothing ever gets to them. But this particular one started whooping their butts before we could say jack. Now everybody, they are also losing their job. I remember, that is to tell you how selfish some people are. I remember when after the election, a lot of them started losing their job, and some of them were like, is there how they can, talk to the president so that people that did not vote for him will lose their job, so that them that voted can retain their job. That is the kind of life they want, because that has always been the life, the narrative, the experience that has always been passed around. You do not have any right to question a Black person's experience about racism because you have never experienced one. And I love how the sister talked about church. Why is it that, one thing I know for sure is that they will never give you something for free, especially that something that is very, very beneficial. And she did not lie at that. On a very serious note, why is it that when you look around everywhere, you see churches and Black community? Not just only, she made so much great points. Now, let me tell you something. You and I know how much that we're giving to Asians and some other people to open shops in Black community. Like everywhere you will see liquor store, you will see there is nothing you won't see. Why? Because they are also benefiting from it. And they do, see, sometimes when I talk to, like, some of my friends about how these people actually took out time to orchestrate majority of the things that is happening to my people, it's only a wicked person that could do that. They sit down and you think you are talking to normal people, not knowing that they are already planning how you will not, like, how you will not go far in the next, let's say, 2 years or 5 years, because they want to pin a system that will affect everything you do, or that will control that thing that you are about to do in order to make you stay at a place. That's why when we talk about systemic racism, some people think it's nothing. Other people will come in here, other people will come into United States and progress, because there must be one or two things that will help them fund some certain things. But the people that built the country do not have access to it or do not benefit from it. Because tell me how Black people could not get loans to start up businesses in their own community, but other people were given loans. Why? Because they do not want them in their community to go to Black community and open businesses, liquor stores, and the rest of it. See, all those things. That is how, sometimes, I'm sorry that I'm digressing, reading Black history is like being, I don't know how to say it, but getting yourself open to be traumatized, because you will come from the beginning till the end be traumatized. Most times when I'm just talking, I see goosebumps all over. Then let alone the people that experience it. Because there are some things you hear, that it only takes a very mean person to do something like that. I remember, there was an old history, how do I say this? Excuse me, let me remember. Documentation that I saw how, and these people, how they make, like, when they want to plan for you, how, if they want to, even they set themselves up to, that is how bad it is. If they want, like, some certain kind of white person to leave a particular building and sell the building off to them because they feel the place is dangerous, they will look for a way to disguise somebody that look like a Black person. You all know blackface is something they've been doing. I cover the person off. I let the person drive around how many times, blasting music, or carry a pound, like baby pound or something, stroller, and walk around thinking that is a Black person. They get scared, right? And they want to sell their house. Why? Because they feel like people that look like me are in the neighborhood. And then they sell the house at a cheap rate to them, the white people. That is how bad they have also treated their own people. Tell me how, I'm sorry that I am just like, but I am just, when you talk about something, you remember some certain things. Because tell me how somebody, like, let's say a community where white people will say to themselves, we want this place to be all white neighborhood and all that. We do not want a Black person to come in here. If you are a landlord and you rent your house to a Black person, you are going to pay fine. That is how some people went. But when you talk about it, they tell you it's been long. Shut the hell up. It's been long ago. I will draw the curtain here. Bye for now.